So then accordions are a new component in Bootstrap 5, and they're essentially a way to collapse or uncollapse boxes of content that can belong together. So when they're collapsed, the content doesn't take up as much room on the page, or it takes up no room, should I say. And you can see that example right here for collapse it. Then we don't see the content, and when one opens it closes the others as well. You can also make it so that auto-closing doesn't happen when we click on a different title. So let's try this out in our code. Alright then. So we're going to place our accordion right here. Topics at a glance underneath the price in section, and basically it's a way for us to show a bit of a book, break down the different chapters and what's in each chapter. Now we're going to use the grid system again here, because on the left we're going to have another image of the book, which is the Kindle image, and on the right we're going to have the accordion. So let me first of all create the section tag, and this is going to have an ID of topics, which remember is what this link at the top, if we go up to the navbar right here about the book, that links to this. And by the way, if I scroll up we can see this in action. If I go to buy now, it's going to scroll to this section, which is quite nice, and it's going to do that for each section. So let me go back down to this topic section. Alright then. Now inside here the first thing I'll do is create a container. So div.container, and it's going to be MD. So it's going to be 100% width until medium screens, and at that point it's going to go to that fixed column in the middle and change every break point. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is a bit of a title and intro text for this section. I'm going to paste that in. We have a div for the class of text center, then an h2, then a paragraph tag lead text muted, and a bit of text. So if we take a look at this, we can see this in action. Alright, there it is. Now after this we need our grid. So we start with a row div.row like so, and this is going to have some margin in the y direction. So my-5. Also for this row I want to make the gap of the grid pretty big. So I'm going to say g-5. Remember we saw that class in the last lesson. I'm also going to say justify-content-around, and that means basically spread around any free space. If we only use maybe 9 or 8 columns, take the rest of the columns and kind of spread it around the elements so all the gaps are equal. So that's that one, and also align items hyphen center, so the centrally aligned all the items in the grid vertically. Okay, so tab, and now we have the row. So the thing on the left is going to be the image. Let's make a div for that, and we'll say call-6. So this is going to be by default for very small screens, and then call -lg when it reaches large screens. It's going to be 4. So -4 inside here I'm going to do an image, and the source is going to go into assets, and it's this one right here, Kindle. So let's click on that, and then also we'll give this a class, and this is going to be equal to image-fluid like so, and the alt is just going to be ebook. Alright, so that's our image on the left. Let's take a look at that. Okay, it's not on the left at the minute, but that's just because we only have this one thing in the grid, and we said justify content around. If I take that off, it's going to be on the left, right? Let's take a look. Yep, on the left. Okay, so the next thing we need is the accordion itself. So let's do a comment and say accordion, and then underneath the accordion first of all a div with a class of accordion. So that's the class that Bootstrap uses for an accordion, and also I'm going to give this an id. And this ID is going to be equal to chapters. So we're going to describe the different chapters in the book here. Alright, so we have several items in an accordion, right, and each item is going to have like a header that we can click on, and also some content which collapses. So first of all let's do a div with a class of accordion -item. So this accordion item surrounds the header, the title that we click, and also the content that collapses. So let's do the header first of all, h2, and we give this a class of accordion hyphen header, and also I'm going to give this an id just to identify this header, and that is going to be heading 1. So inside the h2 I'm now going to do a button, and this is the button we're going to click on to open and close that particular section, this accordion item. Now what I'm going to do is paste in a few different attributes in here so you don't have to watch me type them out from scratch, and then I'm going to explain each one. So let me paste them in right here. So we have a class first of all which is accordion button that styles it, then the type is button. Then we have this data attribute, data bs toggle, and we set that equal to collapse. So that describes the behavior of what this button is basically going to do. Bootstrap knows that now. Then we have the target data attribute which is going to be ID chapter 1. So that is going to be the ID of the section of content that is going to toggle. Then we have our expanded is equal to true, and that's because by default this first section is going to be open, and we'll start that out in a second. And then finally are your controls equals chapter 1. That's what this button controls. Chapter 1, and that is the same as the ID right here. So we have that button, but we also need some text inside it. So I'm going to say chapter 1 hyphen your first web page. So that's the oops. Let's get this correct for a start web page. That's the title of the chapter, and that is also the accordion header done. Now if we save this and take a look at it so far, it's not going to look like much, and it doesn't do anything when we click on it, but we can see it is styled as an accordion header, and we can see this arrow right here to let us know that this is toggleable. Alright, so let's do the content for this. So we have the header underneath the h2, we now want to do a div for the content. So I'm going to say div, and I'm going to give this an ID of chapter-1, and remember we said that the target of this button was the div with chapter 1 as the ID. So it knows to open this one and close this. Alright, so we also need to apply some classes to that and other attributes as well. Which again, I'm just going to copy from my repo and paste them in so you don't have to watch me tap them out from scratch. We have a class of accordion collapse that describes what this div does. It collapses and opens and also collapse as well. And then this class right here show, it means by default when we load the page, this is going to show it's going to be open. If we didn't have this, it would be closed. Also we see area labeled by heading 1. I remember this is heading 1. So we're associating this content with this heading. So we're just telling screen readers this. And then the parent is a data attribute to say, what is the parents of this? What accordion does this belong to? And we're saying it's this one right here with an ID of chapters. So it knows that this is in the same accordion as this basically. So that's all there is to it. And inside this now we can output the accordion body, the actual content. So we'll do a div with a class of accordion-body. And again, I've not memorized all this by any means. You just need to check out the documentation if you're unsure what classes to use. I would never recommend anyone memorize all these classes. That's just a totally pointless exercise and a complete waste of space in your mind. Just check out the docs. So accordion body inside here will do some LoRa. So let's do that. And another p tag as well. LoRa like so. So hopefully if I save this now and scroll down, we can see that this is open. If I click on this, it closes it. Open closed. Open closed. Etc. So that's pretty good. If I take away the show class right here and save it, then scroll down, we can see by default, it doesn't show to begin with. When I add it, it does show to begin with. Okay, so now that's the first chapter. What I'm going to do is basically copy this and paste it down below to create other chapters. So in fact, what I'll do is copy it from my repo because it makes no sense for me to write all of these out from scratch. So let me just grab all these and paste them in below this div right here. This item. So let me paste it here. And one of the only bad things about using Bootstrap is that you sometimes see these divs are quite nested and it becomes hard to see where one ends or one starts. So I sometimes leave comments at the end of divs. But alas, I didn't this time. So we have 5 accordion items right here. So after the first one, you can see we've got another accordion item and it has exactly the same things inside it. The accordion header, the ID, the button and the type and the toggle, the target, which is chapter 2, and these are your labels as well. Some text. And then we have the actual div for the content, which is accordion collapse. Collapse. You don't say show by default because we only want to show the first one by default. The ID is chapter 2. The parent is chapters, which is the whole accordion, and then the body. And it's the same for everyone. Instead of heading 2, it's heading 3, etc. Chapter 3. Heading 4. Chapter 4. So it's basically just the same thing over and over again. All I've done is change the ID of these things right here. So it's 4 instead of 3. 4 instead of 3. 4. Etc. So if I save this, hopefully it will see all of those like this, and they all work, and when we click on a different one, it closes the other. Alright. So that's okay right here. But it's not inside the grid, is it? So let's have a look at this. We have this inside the row. We just need to place this accordion in some kind of column. So let's do that. I'm going to above the accordion do another div, and this is going to have a class of call -LG-6. And what that means is for very, very small screens. Extra small. It's going to be full width because we don't specify anything for below large screens. So it's just automatically going to be full width. Then when we get to a large screen, it's going to be 6 columns in width, as is this. So 6 plus 6. Oh, sorry. It's going to be 4 on a large screen. So we have 10. So there will be a little space around it. Let's take this closing div and go to the end of the accordion, which is somewhere down here. Phew. I need to find this now. I'm pretty sure it's this one. So let me place the closing div right here and see if this works. I'm going to save it. And yeah, that looks about right. So the small screens is like this. And then as we get bigger, they go next to each other. Awesome. So they're going to find that is our accordion.